Two visitors, a man in his 40s and a little boy, were sitting in the corridor of the emergency room at the pediatric hospital. The child had a fever, his cheeks were red, and his eyes were full of tears. It was clear that he was very sick. "I feel so bad. I have a severe headache, and I'm thirsty and sleepy. When are they gonna let us into the doctor's office?" The man looked at the boy unhappily and answered him rudely, "Why are you cranky like a little girl? Be quiet and stop crying. I didn't know you were so sensitive. You have just a sore throat, and I'm sure you would have recovered without going to the hospital. It's all your teacher's fault. She asked me to come to school and pick you up. I even had to leave early from work." The pediatrician, Michelle, heard this unpleasant conversation. At that moment, she was walking quickly past them but stopped. She looked at the poor little boy and felt sorry for him. The woman stopped, introduced herself, and asked, "What is your name, dear? Are you sick? Daddy says you have a sore throat. There's a crowd of kids in the emergency room today, you guys can wait a long time, so let me examine your throat right now. My name is Alex. And I don't have a sore throat, I have rubella. I know that for sure, but my dad doesn't believe me. He thinks I'm lying. But I really feel very bad, and I'm very thirsty," the boy replied seriously. The woman, seeing the red spots on the boy's skin and enlarged lymph nodes, was surprised. How did this child manage to diagnose himself correctly? "Alex, I have no idea how you know this, but you're right, you have an infectious disease, and it's currently on the rise. You need to be immediately hospitalized," she said, and turned to the man sitting next to the boy, "Are you his father? May I see your ID? I need this to admit Alex to the infectious disease ward. I'm his stepfather, Irvin. Here is my ID. Are you sure he needs to be hospitalized? I don't have time for that, and I can't visit him in the hospital. Actually, I have a job." The man replied grudgingly. The doctor fixed her glasses and said, looking sternly at the man, "Look, Alex has an infectious disease, we need to isolate him so he doesn't infect other kids, and immediately start treatment. You don't have to be in hospital all the time. Alex is a big boy, I think he can stay here without you. We provide good care and have a very helpful staff. Don't worry, our medical staff will look after him. I'll give you a list of necessities to bring to the hospital. But let's hurry to the ward, you can see Alex is sick, we need to give him an antipyretic. And start treatment as soon as possible." For some reason, the boy cheered up after hearing the doctor's words. "Daddy, go home, I'll stay here. Just bring me my robot and some coloring books, please. I can stay here as long as necessary." The stepfather quickly filled out the necessary papers, took a list of stuff to bring to the hospital, and left. It was clear that he was not concerned about the boy's fate. Poor boy, his mom died, and his stepdad doesn't really care about him. I should talk to Alex tomorrow and ask him about his life. And bring him some treats, Michelle thought sympathetically. Alex turned out to be a very sociable child. As soon as he felt better, he was happy to talk to the kind doctor and tell her about his life. "My mom was also a pediatrician, like you. Sometimes, women with children came to our house, my mom examined them at home. She was the one who told me what diseases children can have, so I knew right away I had rubella. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor too, but my stepdad, Irvin, is against it. He's a terrible person. I don't like him. And I don't want to live with him." Michelle was shocked by such a confession and asked, "What happened to your mom? Does your stepfather beat you? If he is beating you, tell me, you don't have to tolerate it." Alex nodded and continued, "My mom died. She went to visit a friend in a small town and got into a car accident. I cried a lot, and I wanted to go to the funeral too, to say goodbye to my mom. I just couldn't believe she died. But Irvin didn't let me. He asked our neighbor to babysit me, and went to the funeral alone. My stepfather said I was too young to see that. But I think it's my stepfather's fault that my mom died. But nobody believes me. Are you sure about that, Alex? Maybe it just seems that way to you, the doctor asked in surprise. My mom and I used to live together, just the two of us, and we were happy together. She was always cheerful and laughed a lot. We often went for a walk to the park, rode on swings, and ate delicious ice cream. We lived in a different city then, but I remember it all. And then we moved here, and Irvin moved in with us. That's when everything changed. They often quarreled because of me. Irvin is a wicked man, he didn't want to live with me, and he persuaded my mom to take me to a small town, to my grandmother, and leave me there. But mom refused. And recently my mom's relative, Uncle Gregory, died, and my mom got an inheritance. After that my mom and stepfather started to fight even more. It was really scary. I constantly covered my ears with my hands not to hear their screams, and cried, and then my mom died. But my stepfather wasn't upset about her death at all. And now, he often discusses my mom's inheritance with someone on the phone. I live alone with him now. He doesn't beat me, but he often scolds me and humiliates me. I hate living with him, and I miss my mom a lot. Michelle hugged the child, and tried to comfort him. Don't cry. I understand that you miss your mom a lot and you feel really bad right now. Alex, I don't know how to help you yet, but I'll try to think about it. Would you like to go to my house? I have a funny cat, Thomas, he's fluffy and very affectionate. You and I can cook something delicious and then watch a cartoon together. Alex was excited at the suggestion and immediately agreed, of course. I'd really like to play with your cat. I've always wanted a pet. You are a very kind woman, like my mom. When are we going to go to your place? Won't they scold us for leaving the hospital? Michelle realized that this was illegal, and if the head of the hospital found out, she would be in trouble. But she really wanted to make the boy happy. He was just a child, but he already had so many problems. Tomorrow will be a day off, so there will be almost no one at the hospital. Your stepfather said he will come to see you no sooner than Monday, and the head of the infectious disease department won't be at the hospital either. So let it be our secret. You have almost recovered, and you have no fever. So let's have some fun, the doctor said with a wink. On Saturday, Michelle picked Alex up from the hospital and took him to her house. She felt happy taking care of the boy. They laughed together, joked, discussed the cartoon, and made cupcakes. She could see that Alex really enjoyed being around her too. All this time, she was thinking, how could she help the boy? What if Irvin's hiding something? What if he was behind Alex's mom's death? Michelle managed to find out something about the boy's stepfather. It turned out that he worked in a car repair shop, which means he could easily do something to the car, which caused the accident. Unfortunately, people are capable of terrible things for the sake of money. A curious boy saw a photo album on the shelf and asked, Michelle, can I have a look at this album? I have an album at home too. There are pictures of me and my mom. Sometimes I even look at the pictures and talk to her. Michelle nodded, took the album, and started to show pictures to the boy. This is a picture of me when I was a little girl, and this is me in high school. I used to look funny, didn't I? I was a chubby girl and I had to wear eyeglasses. I was so embarrassed about it. The boys at school were always mocking me. And this is my best friend, Laura. Once she saved my life. That day we went camping and boating, and I fell into the water and started drowning. All the guys were scared and just watched, but Laura jumped into the water and pulled me out, even though I was much heavier than she was. Then we studied together at the medical university. I still think about her often. Suddenly, Alex said in surprise, that's my mom. I'm sure. We have the same picture in our album. So, you knew my mom? Michelle, will you help me? Please. I don't want to go home and live with my stepfather. I don't feel safe there. But I feel safe with you. I wish you could be my mom now. Michelle started to cry, unable to hold back her tears. She hugged the boy and stroked his hair, not knowing what to say. But she had already decided that she would go to the police station, tell everything to the investigator, and try to help Alex somehow. She didn't understand why this child seemed special to her. She treats many children in the hospital every day, but she immediately became attached to Alex. She put the child to bed and looked fondly at the way he smiled in his sleep. That night, Michelle couldn't sleep. She was constantly turning from one side to the other, sighing and thinking about her past. Since childhood, the woman had never been beautiful. She always looked unattractive. At school, other children often insulted her, but the girl knew how to defend herself. But she was always envious of beautiful skinny girls. She wanted to be like them. And she had no friends except Laura. Laura was a petite girl, so the friends looked pretty funny together. But they learned to ignore their angry peers. They set a common goal: to enter medical university together. The girls were diligently preparing for university, and every evening, they were not at the disco with their classmates, but in the library, studying medical books. And they succeeded. Both of them entered the medical university. And then their lives completely changed. Michelle lost a lot of weight, probably because she didn't have time to eat. And she became more self-confident because no one offended her at the university. The girl managed to take part in all student competitions, didn't hesitate to speak in front of the audience, and devoted a lot of time to studying. And the beautiful Laura had a lot of guys who courted her. Many guys really wanted to see her and waited for her outside the campus. Right after graduation from medical university, Laura got married and left with her husband to another city. That's how the friends stopped communicating. Michelle started working in a municipal hospital after graduation. The girl was doing well at work, but not in her personal life. Michelle also dreamed of falling in love and going on dates, but since she was brought up by a strict mom, she was too shy, always chose modest clothes, and didn't wear any makeup. And she had absolutely no idea where to meet guys and how to socialize with them. But one day, everything changed. She met her former classmate, Mia, on the street. Mia looked at Michelle and said hypocritically, "Well, hello, Michelle. You haven't changed at all, at least you've lost weight." "Well, you haven't changed too, you're still an insolent stupid person. You know, I'm working as a pediatrician now. I got what I wanted. What about you? What's your progress?" Michelle asked grudgingly. Mia suddenly apologized and started talking quickly. "Really? Wow. Great job. And I work as a hairdresser at a beauty parlor." "Michelle, I'm sorry for talking to you like that. I actually need your help. I have a son, Michael. He's been sick with bronchitis for a year now. He has a bad cough. We've tried a lot of medications, but nothing works. Could you examine him? You've always been smart, I'm sure you won't recommend bad treatment." Michelle immediately forgot the insults and replied, "Sure, come to the hospital, I'll try to figure out what the problem is." When Mia came to the hospital with her son, it turned out that he had been misdiagnosed before. The boy did have bronchitis, but it was allergy-related. And the treatment should have been completely different. Michelle helped cure her classmate's son, and a grateful Mia suggested to her, "Now I want to help you. Come to my beauty parlor, I'll help you change your appearance. You'll be happy with the results, I promise. Don't say no, otherwise you'll never get married." Michelle decided that it wouldn't hurt her. Actually, she had wanted to change her appearance for a long time, but beauty services were too expensive, and she couldn't afford it. In the beauty parlor, Mia set to work, and 2 hours later, she turned Michelle to the big mirror and said, "Now you are a very attractive woman. Do you like it? Michelle? Why don't you say anything?" Michelle stared dumbfounded in the mirror and saw a completely different person. There was a pretty blonde with a stylish haircut and delicate makeup that emphasized her beautiful eyes. "Mia. You are a magician. I really like the result. How much should I pay you?" Michelle said with a smile. The hairdresser winked and replied, "You don't have to pay me, you saved my child, and I sincerely wanted to thank you. And one more thing, you need to throw away all your clothes. I mean, you look like a granny. Tomorrow, we're going shopping to pick out new clothes." A new friend helped her choose comfortable but attractive clothes. Now, the girl was slim, so it was easy. And soon, Michelle met a man, Dominic. He constantly said something nice to her in the supermarket, and one day, he decided to walk her home. The guy worked as a manager. Michelle fell in love with him almost immediately. No one had ever courted her before, so such passionate declarations of love seemed to her something incredible, and she was thrilled even with a modest bouquet of flowers or a small gift. After a while, they celebrated their wedding, and family life began. Michelle wanted a baby very much, but Dominic didn't want responsibility. "Darling, aren't you tired of babies at work? You and I are still young, we need to save money, buy a car, and travel the world. Please, let's not talk about children yet." At first, Michelle agreed with her husband, but years later, they stopped understanding each other. They no longer had the passion that used to be between them. Each new day was similar to the previous one. Michelle would come home from work, cook dinner, they would eat together, and then she would do household chores while Dominic played video games or watched TV. Michelle was tired of this life and decided to change it. She stopped taking birth control pills. The woman was sure her husband would be happy to know she got pregnant, but it didn't turn out the way she expected. When Dominic found out, he got angry and started yelling, "Michelle, is this a joke? You and I have already discussed this. How could you get pregnant?" The woman tried to explain everything to her husband and calm him down by showing him the ultrasound result. "Darling, don't yell. Look at this image, this little spot right here is our baby. Aren't you happy? Don't you notice that our relationship has changed? Sometimes I feel like we are no longer spouses, but just roommates. But the baby will help us realize everything, and make our family happy. We will love and take care of our baby together. Do you want a boy or a girl?" But Dominic roughly pushed his wife away and replied, "Michelle, you are so stupid. You didn't even notice anything. I have another woman. I've been cheating on you for a long time. She is my boss, and she is a rich and confident woman. I don't love you, and I don't want this baby. And anyway, you already know the truth, so let's get a divorce. We should have done it a long time ago, but I didn't dare to tell you." The woman cried and begged her husband to change his mind, but it was pointless. Dominic packed his belongings and left. Soon, they divorced. Because of stress, Michelle lost her baby. She took antidepressants for a long time, went to a psychologist, and couldn't come to her senses. After losing her baby, she stopped believing that she could be happy ever again, so she started working as much as possible. Her university friend, Oliver, helped her get through this difficult time. He had his own private clinic, and when he found out about her problems, he tried to support her. Oliver constantly offered her a job at his clinic, but the girl refused, although she was grateful for the help. Michelle was not ready for changes in her life. On Sunday, Alex woke up, and they were about to have breakfast when the doorbell rang insistently, and then someone knocked on the door loudly. Michelle was frightened and went to open the door. Alex's stepfather burst into the house with police officers and began shouting, "Look! She kidnapped a child. She should go to jail. Alex, what the hell are you doing here? Get up, we're going home." The police officers began asking questions, and Michelle tried to explain everything. "Yes, that's right, I invited Alex to my place for the weekend. He's almost healthy, but he had rubella, and according to the rules, we can't discharge him from the hospital yet, so that he doesn't infect other children. Irvin, instead of blaming me, why don't you explain to the police why the child is afraid of you and doesn't want to live with you? And tell them what really happened to his mom. You're the one who caused that accident because of the inheritance, aren't you? We'll see which one of us goes to jail. I'm only guilty of violating the hospital rules. But I had no intention of kidnapping the child. It's just that you never even visited Alex, and he was bored alone in the hospital. So I decided to treat him to a homemade meal. Officers, you can ask the boy yourself." Alex began to speak quickly. "Michelle is a very kind woman, please don't scold her. I wanted to go to her house, and I like it here. But I don't want to go back home, I won't go back there. Dad, you are an evil man, you will humiliate me again. The police officers immediately understood the situation. They saw that the child was speaking sincerely. How could a child not want to go home if everything was fine there? Irvin was not a stupid man and quickly realized that he might be in trouble. So the man immediately began to talk differently to everyone present. Okay, maybe I was wrong right now, but I was just scared when Alex disappeared from the hospital. I'm not gonna file a report against Michelle, but I'm taking the boy home. I'll take a sick leave and take care of him myself until he can go back to school. I've never hurt my son, it's just that we're having a hard time. Recently, my beloved wife, his mom, passed away. We're going through a difficult time, but we'll be okay. On Monday, the head of the hospital began yelling at Michelle, Michelle, are you out of your mind? How could you take a child from the hospital to your house? You are a stranger to that child. You could have ended up in jail for such actions. You should be glad the boy's stepfather didn't file a report. But you could have damaged the reputation of the entire hospital. I really want to fire you, but I can't do it just because you are an excellent doctor. But as of today, you're going on unpaid leave. You need to think about your behavior, Michelle. Problems in your personal life are no reason to kidnap children. I hope it never happens again. Michelle quickly walked out of his office and noticed that her coworkers were looking at her like she was really crazy. None of them understood her reckless behavior. Why would she risk her reputation for some boy? When the woman returned home, she was very worried about the child. She cried all night, holding Alex's drawing in her hands, and thought, I promised to help the poor boy, but now he has even more problems because of me. Now Irvin will abuse Alex even more. I need to do something. Laura saved me once, now I have to save her son. The woman got into her car, bought a small camera and a tape recorder at the store on the way, and headed for Irvin's house. Fortunately, Michelle saw his address when she had entered Alex's information into the computer at the hospital. The woman wanted to find proof that Irvin was abusing Alex. She realized that he didn't care about his stepson, and if it was really about the inheritance, Alex might be in danger. After all, he's the real heir now. Apparently, that's why Irvin got scared when Michelle started talking about it in front of the police officers. He probably has something to hide. The woman took some sandwiches and tea and waited patiently in the car. Soon, Irvin left the house and went somewhere. Michelle followed him. It turned out that he had a meeting with some brunette woman in a restaurant. Michelle waited a few minutes and then entered the restaurant too. It was impossible to recognize her, because her friend, Mia, changed her appearance again. Michelle was wearing a wig with long brown hair. Michelle sat down at the table and immediately turned on her camera and tape recorder. Honey, I've been waiting for you for an hour. Where have you been? Were you spending time with Alex again? He's a big boy now and can stay home alone, the woman said indignantly. My love, don't be angry. Let's better have a glass of wine. After all, everything is working out exactly as we wanted. My wife is dead, and soon I will get rid of the child, too. But we have to wait a little longer, or it'll look too suspicious. Just remember, everything I do is only for you, Irvin said, making excuses. Michelle recorded this conversation on a tape recorder, took some photos, and became even more worried about the child. During the week, Irvin spent every night at his lover's house and Alex stayed home alone. Poor boy, he must be scared to stay home alone, he's still a child. I must help Alex. I'm sure Irvin is planning something, Alex could be in danger, Michelle thought. The next night, when Irvin left for his girlfriend's house again, a woman knocked on the window. Alex looked out, smiled, opened the window, and shouted, Michelle. Did you come to pick me up? Take me away, please. Irvin locked the door, but I'm afraid to stay home alone at night. He yells at me all the time, doesn't let me leave the house, and doesn't even cook anything. I want to come back to you. Don't leave me, please. Michelle could hardly hold back her tears, and whispered to the boy, you need to pack quickly. Take only the essentials. And then I'll help you climb out the window. We'll go to a small town, to my mom's house. We'll stay with her for a while and then think about what to do, I promise. Okay, I'll pack my backpack now. Just wait for me, don't go anywhere, okay? Alex said. Michelle picked up the child and took him to a small town. She was scared because she could end up in jail for this act. But she could not do otherwise, because the child was in danger. Helena was happy about her daughter's arrival, but the woman was surprised when she saw a child. Michelle, are we having company? Why don't you introduce us? What's your name, buddy? This is Alex, he is Lara's son. Remember, she and I have been friends since we were kids. Can we stay at your place for a while? I'll tell you what is going on, the daughter replied. When Michelle finished her story, Helena said, I feel sorry for Alex. Also, I didn't know Lara had died. Of course, you can stay at my place as long as you need. But what are you going to do? Irvin will look for Alex, and after a while, he will find us. And what will happen then? Michelle, you might go to jail. I can't even believe this is happening. But actually, I know Irvin, or rather, I know his mother. Irvin's mother lives in our town, her name is Veronica. She's a very nice woman. Her son sold her spacious apartment in the city, got the money, and bought a small dilapidated house here, and he never even visited his mother. Everyone in our town knows about this scumbag. I think we should talk to Veronica. What if she can help us? Alex is not her grandson, but Veronica is a very kind person, I know that for sure. When Helena entered the house, she offered the child muffins and milk. The boy ate a lot, cheered up, played with the dog, and then quickly fell asleep in bed. Michelle talked to her mother for a long time, and then they decided to go to Veronica in the morning, realizing that she would see them anyway, because the town is very small and everyone here knows everything about everyone. Veronica met them hospitably, even though she had no money at all. She invited the guests to the table and served what she had at home, cookies, jam, and tea. The elderly woman was very lonely and was happy to talk to someone. Helena decided to immediately explain why they had come here. Veronica, we've come to have a serious talk. Do you know that your son's wife, Lara, died in a strange car accident, and your son is abusing her child? My daughter treated the boy at the hospital, that's how they met. We'll tell you all about it. Hearing Michelle's story, Veronica looked at her horrified and said, what a horror. I didn't know anything about it. My son forced me to sell my apartment in the city, took all the money, and bought me this house. But I hadn't seen him in a long time, since the day he brought me to this town. I had no idea my son was such a jerk. Poor Lara, she was a very nice girl. I've only seen her son a few times, he's a very clever and kind boy. Did Irvin commit a crime because of the inheritance? Well, if he betrayed his mother and forced her to live in a small town, then everything is possible. But I don't see how I can help you. I haven't seen Irvin in years, and even if I talk to him, he won't listen to me. I only wanted to ask you about one thing. If Irvin finds out where Alex is and comes to you, don't tell him that the boy lives with me. It's just that I don't know how to help Alex, I took him away from his legal guardian. But I couldn't leave the child in trouble. He doesn't want to live with Irvin, Irvin doesn't care about him at all. I also know that his stepfather is up to something, and something bad could happen to Alex, Michelle explained. Don't worry about that, I won't tell him anything. Besides, he won't show up here, why would he come to a small town? He doesn't even call me. Forgive me, I'm so ashamed of my son's behavior. Michelle became a little calmer and decided to stay in this small town. She helped her mother around the house and worked in the garden every day. Alex liked it here too because they didn't abuse him, cooked delicious food, and he felt safe in this house. But Michelle was still worried. She kept thinking about how she could explain everything to the investigator so that he would believe her because she had not enough evidence about Irvin's plans. The man drove home in a great mood and sang some cheerful tune. He had spent the night with his mistress, Zoe, and all he dreamed of now was to sleep. On the way home, he bought some food at the supermarket, realizing that he needed to feed the boy at least sometimes. The man never liked the boy, he tolerated him before, so that Lara wouldn't suspect anything. But now he openly hated him. Entering the yard, Irvin thought Alex would start crying again, and tell how scared he was to be alone at home. But then he noticed that the window was open, and frowned because he remembered that he had closed all the windows before he left. The man opened the door and shouted, "Alex, come here. Why did you open the window? Come to me, I brought you some food. Are you hiding in the closet again?" But the house was suspiciously quiet. The man looked for the boy all over the house, and even checked the basement, but found no one. "Where are you hiding, silly boy? Did you really run away?" "I don't need this right now," Irvin shouted loudly. The man went outside again, approached the window, which was open, and wondered where the child could go. But then a curious neighbor showed up and said, "You must be looking for Alex. He's not here. When you left yesterday, some woman took him away. I heard them talking, she said they were going to a small town. I wanted to stop her, but Alex asked to take him away, and said you were abusing him." Irvin banged his fist against the wall and clarified, "Was this woman tall, wearing glasses? A blonde?" "Yes, it was her. The woman looked very decent. Do you know her? Do we have to go to the police station to file a report?" "I've been waiting for you to do that. We don't have to go anywhere, everything is fine. She is our relative and took Alex to the village. I'll pick him up myself," Irvin replied. The case of Lara's death was still under investigation, so Irvin didn't want to draw attention to himself. He decided to do something more cunning. He went to the hospital where Alex was treated and asked the employee at the front desk where Michelle might be. He said that he wanted to find this doctor and apologize for that incident with the police and that he also wanted her to examine Alex. Irvin found out that if she was not at home, she had traveled to visit her mother in a small town. Upon hearing the name of the town, the man was surprised, for his mother lived in that town. "I will go there right away and find out everything. If Alex is there, I will take him home. And I'll tell that stupid woman I'll report her actions to the police, so she'll never meddle in my business again." On the way to that remote town, Irvin was cursing. He didn't want to see his mother. They hadn't seen each other for years, and now she would start asking about his family again and complaining about how hard it was for her to live in a remote town. Since childhood, Irvin had always been ashamed of his mother. The boy didn't like it when she came to pick him up at school. She was a bit overweight, with a funny hairstyle, and wearing old shoes. Her hands were ungroomed, with rough skin and no nail polish. Veronica worked very hard at the factory and was a very valuable employee. But Irvin thought her work was not prestigious, because they lived very modestly. His friends' moms were different. For example, Meredith worked as an assistant at the city administration and always looked very beautiful, much younger than her age. Stephanie was a restaurant manager, so Peter always had delicious food in the refrigerator. And his mother looked terrible compared to them. At the same time, his mother loved him very much. She always did her best to buy new trendy clothes and a phone for her son, working on weekends and staying extra hours at work. But Irvin didn't appreciate it. He thought that his mother was obliged to provide for him and brazenly demanded more expensive purchases from her. He didn't want to go to university, so he had to join the army. When the guy married Lara, he decided that he needed the apartment more than his mother. But he didn't want to live with Veronica in the same apartment, so he bought her an old cheap house in a small town and immediately took her there, despite his mother's protests. Irvin believed that his mother did not have much time left, and said that she didn't have to wait for her death in a spacious apartment in the city. It was better to die in a quiet town. After relocating his mother to the old house, the man sold her apartment and persuaded Lara to sell her small apartment in another city, then bought a spacious house, and, of course, registered all the papers in his name. After that, he never saw his mother again. At first, she often called him and wanted to come to visit, but her son always refused her, saying that he was very busy at work. So what is he supposed to tell her now? She doesn't even know about his wife's death. Irvin drove up to the old shabby house, got out of the car, and looked sadly at the broken staircase and the crooked fence. The man tried to enter the yard, but a huge dog ran towards him with a loud bark. Irvin was frightened and saw his mother standing on the porch. She had aged even more over the years, lost a lot of weight, and her face was covered in wrinkles. "Hi, Mom. Get your dog away from me. Or you don't want to let your son in the house. I need to talk to you," the man shouted. Veronica silently approached the fence, while her dog was still barking loudly. The woman looked at her son intently and asked, "Why the hell did you come here? Or do you think I'm happy to see you? I'm not. You've already made your choice and stopped communicating with me. You kicked me out of my own apartment. I've spent my whole life to earn money and buy it. Do you think I don't know what is going on? Why did you kill your wife? Where is Alex? Tell me. I'm scared because you've become a terrible person. Why did Lara die? What do you want from me?" Irvin had not expected such a greeting from his mother, for she had never spoken to him like that before. "Lara died in a car accident, and I don't know where Alex is. I'm trying to find him, that's why I'm here. He ran away from home, a doctor from the hospital helped him. Her mom lives in this town. Did you see any strangers here? I need to find Alex as soon as possible. If I don't find him, social services will disqualify me from being his guardian, I will stop getting payments as his guardian, and I will lose Lara's inheritance. Do you understand? Why don't you invite me inside? Or have you forgotten that I'm your son?" the man muttered, excusing himself. But Veronica was determined and shouted, "Rex, attack him. We need to teach this jerk a lesson." The dog immediately jumped over the old fence and clung to the man's leg, growling loudly. Irvin was frightened, started screaming, and tried to kick the dog aside. "Get out of here, even if I knew anything about Alex, I wouldn't tell you. You jerk. You don't care about the child. All you care about is money. Get out. I don't want to see you ever again." She called to the dog. Rex quickly let go of the man's leg and obediently followed Veronica into the yard. Veronica didn't even look back at her son, she closed the gate and went into the house. Irvin didn't understand what had happened, got into the car, and quickly drove away. He felt like his mother had cursed him by saying such mean words. He couldn't understand why she had changed. After all, she had always been a shy, indecisive woman. Being nervous, he quickly drove onto the highway without looking around. Suddenly, something hit his car at high speed, there was a squeal of brakes, and everything went dark. After her son left, Veronica rushed to Helena and Michelle to tell them everything. Irvin came to me. I yelled at him. I wouldn't even let him in the house and commanded my dog to bite him. Rex ripped off part of his pants, so don't worry. Irvin got scared and quickly left our town. But I think it's risky for you to stay here, he knows Alex is here. Oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do? The boy is doing really well here, he has become cheerful, laughs a lot, and is always walking in the yard. How can I give him back to his stepfather? I've already got used to Alex, I even thought that he could attend the local school. Michelle said anxiously. And then the women heard that the neighbors were shouting something in the street. Going outside, they noticed that Samuel was running down the road and shouting, "There's been a terrible car accident on the highway. A green car and a truck. The driver of the green car survived, they took him to the hospital. That's Irvin's car. He was visiting me today, and he was driving a green car. That's my son. Why did I tell him all those terrible things? It's all because of me," Veronica said, crying. Michelle immediately said, "Veronica, don't cry. Mommy, stay with Alex. I will go to the place of the accident and find out what hospital they took him to. When I know something, I'll call you." Michelle quickly found out which hospital Irvin had been taken to. The doctors had already performed emergency surgery, and now he was in the emergency room. The woman persuaded the nurse to let her in to see the patient. After looking at Irvin, she decided to turn on the tape recorder. She knew that after anesthesia, patients could say something that they would never say under normal circumstances. And that's exactly what happened. The victim kept saying, "Zoe, stop yelling, I'll find Alex and bring him back. Lara, get away from me. Don't touch me. You're gone. You're dead. Yeah, I'm the one who damaged the brakes on your car. And I also put sleeping pills in your coffee to make sure you die in that accident. But it's your own fault. You only had to do what I told you to do. You inherited an apartment and a summer house from your relative. I told you to sell it all and help me start a proper business. That would be the right thing to do. And what did you tell me? No. I won't sell the property, I'll keep it all for Alex. So, Lara, now it's all mine. Alex won't get anything. Do you know why? Because as soon as everyone forgets about your death, he'll die too. Zoe, is that you again? Where's Lara? Have you seen her too? The woman was shocked. It turned out that all her suspicions were true. After that, she immediately went to the police station, found the investigator who was investigating Lara's death, and told him everything, handing over the tape recorder. Interesting details. I think we have to carry out an exhumation. It's been a long time, but maybe our pathologist will find something in Lara's body. A confession is a good thing. But Irvin said it all while under anesthesia, and any lawyer can easily overturn this evidence. We need to find more solid evidence. But either way, Irvin is now a suspect in his wife's death. But now, let's talk about the boy. It's good that you went to the police and told us everything yourself. I understand that you only wanted to protect the child. But legally, you're just a stranger to him, and the child can't live with you, not even temporarily. You need to find his mother's relatives or his biological father. Or the boy should go to an orphanage. You can adopt him only after that, otherwise, you will have a lot of problems. Michelle cried and begged the investigator, but I want to adopt Alex. I promised I would protect him. The boy believes that I won't give him to anyone. You're completely right, technically, I am just a stranger, but I treat him like my own son. Besides, it would be very hard for Alex to stay at the orphanage. It could cause mental problems. I'm a pediatrician, and I know what I'm talking about. I'll find his family, I promise. But for now, can he live with me? The investigator was a father of 2 children, and he imagined how his son would feel in such a terrible situation. After all, the boy's mother had recently died, his stepfather didn't want him, and now he might end up in an orphanage. Okay, you have a week to settle this matter. If you really want to adopt the boy, prepare the necessary paperwork. If we can, we will prove Irvin's guilt. In this case, he'll no longer be Alex's legal guardian. Then you'll have a chance to adopt the boy. And if you find Alex's relatives, and they give you permission to adopt him, then it can be done even faster. In this case, the child won't be living in an orphanage, the investigator explained. Michelle thanked the investigator. The woman already knew where to start looking for the boy's relatives. She drove to Irvin's house and sneaked inside at night. She was lucky, for there was an open window in the attic, and there was a ladder in the yard. The woman tried to find anything that would help her find Alex's relatives. She found Lara's notebook. Alex kept it in his room, probably as a memory of his mom. Michelle took it and quickly left the house. Back in the small town, she started reading that notebook. It turned out that Alex's father was Stephen, Lara's first love, whom she had married years ago. Michelle tried to find him, and she succeeded. She found him on the social network. The man listened to everything, and replied with a heavy sigh, "Poor Lara. I didn't know that. We divorced long ago, and she forbade me to communicate with my son. I feel sorry for Alex because I realize he's my biological son, but I already have another family and a daughter. My wife will never accept Alex. Michelle, I don't know what to do. If I bring Alex into my house, my wife will leave me." Michelle got excited and began to speak quickly. "Stephen, I wasn't looking for you to bring the boy to you. I want to adopt Alex, and I just need your permission. Can you help me? While he lived with me, we bonded, and I treat him like my own child. Alex will be fine with me. Please help me, or rather, help your son. Don't put him in an orphanage, he won't survive there. Stephen didn't hesitate and immediately signed all the papers without asking any unnecessary questions. By that time, Irvin had already been deprived of his rights to be the child's guardian, and now Michelle became Alex's guardian. She was insanely happy. Without the investigators' help, she would never have been able to accomplish this so quickly. The woman finally picked Alex up from the small town, and the two of them began living together in the city, as mother and son. The child spent a lot of time with her, and they never had any arguments. The investigator kept his promise and carried out the exhumation. He managed to prove Irvin's guilt, and the jerk ended up in jail. Since Alex was the only Lara's heir, now, the entire inheritance belonged to the boy. Michelle sold the summer house that previously belonged to Lara's uncle because she had no intention of moving to another city. She used the money to order and install a monument on her friend's grave, and also helped Irvin's mother, Veronica. Michelle thought that the granny would be willing to move back to the city, but she refused. Veronica got used to living in a small town and fell in love with that remote place. Michelle helped her repair the house, fix the stairs, and make a new fence. Now, the house was warm and cozy. The granny thanked Michelle sincerely. They became friends and even visited each other on weekends. Michelle didn't go back to work at the municipal hospital, even though her vacation was over long ago. After that incident, her colleagues stopped talking to her. They didn't understand why she'd risk her career for some orphan boy. The woman decided to call her friend Oliver, who had repeatedly offered her a job at his private clinic. The working conditions there were better, and the salary was much higher than in the municipal hospital. "Hello, Oliver. It's me, Michelle. Do you still have a chance to hire me?" The man immediately replied cheerfully, "Hi, Michelle. I can't believe my ears. Did you really decide to quit the municipal hospital? I just can't believe it. I always have openings for professionals like you. Come to my clinic tomorrow, and we'll discuss everything. Can we meet on Monday? My son, Alex, is sick, and I don't want to leave him home alone." "Wait, what? Do you have a son? Are you kidding me? Michelle, you didn't have kids just a month ago. What the hell is going on?" Oliver asked in surprise. Michelle replied mysteriously, Oliver, my whole life has completely changed in the last couple of months. Yes, I have a son now, he's 9 years old, and I'm happy to be a mom. But it's a very long story, I'll tell you about it on Monday. Do you and your wife already have children? I'm single now, we divorced. But it's a long story too. I guess we'll have a lot to talk about, Oliver said quietly. The meeting of friends went well. Oliver made coffee, opened a box of chocolates, and they started talking about everything that had happened lately. Michelle talked emotionally about her life, about what a wonderful boy Alex was, and how much she loved him. Oliver was happy for his friend, and as always, supported her. And then he told Michelle about his life. "My wife recently left me for another man, and now I'm single. Honestly, I can't really understand her choice. Anyway, you can get to work today. Other employees will help you get used to the new atmosphere. Michelle, I'm so glad we'll be working together now. Oliver, why don't you visit me and Alex tomorrow? I'll make your favorite salad and ginger cookies. Come over in a good mood," the woman suggested. "Sounds great. Thank you. I'll be happy to meet your son, you know how much I love children, I'm sure we'll make friends," Oliver replied excitedly. The woman liked her new job very much, because she loved to treat little patients, but the conditions and equipment here were much better than in a municipal hospital. Oliver and Michelle became best friends, and the man really managed to make friends with the child. Now, they were riding bikes together in the park or playing soccer. And Michelle would wait for them at home and make them a delicious dinner. She was finally truly happy. It is so comfortable to be around Oliver. I enjoy coming out of the clinic with him after work, waiting for him at home, and worrying about him. Alex likes him, and Oliver likes to spend time with Alex. Men are so different. Dominic ran away after hearing about his own baby, while Oliver is happy to spend time with someone else's child. Too bad we're just friends. I can only dream of such a husband, the woman thought. But Michelle didn't even realize that Oliver had been in love with her for a long time, ever since they studied at the university. He didn't care that she was wearing eyeglasses and old-fashioned clothes. But the man couldn't confess his feelings, because her friend told him that after the divorce, Michelle would never be able to fall in love again. But every night, Oliver dreamed about kissing Michelle passionately, whispering words of love to her. Perhaps they would never confess their feelings to each other, but Alex decided to intervene in the situation. One day, when Oliver was about to go home, the boy suddenly lay down on the bed and began to complain of a headache. Michelle noticed that the child's cheeks were very hot. The woman gave him a thermometer, and when she came to check it, she was frightened. The boy had a fever. She didn't understand anything, for his forehead was cold. I think Alex is faking it. But why is he doing this? I don't understand, the woman whispered. Oliver winked, sat down beside the child's bed and asked, Alex, what happened? You're not sick, are you? Your mom and I realized it right away. Do you have something to tell us? Alex was upset that his plan failed and apologized, forgive me. I rubbed my cheeks and put the thermometer in a glass of hot water. I just don't want you to leave, Oliver. I want you and Mommy to live together. I mean, you love each other, we're like a family. I'm happy with both of you. Please stay. I promise I won't lie to you ever again. Michelle blushed, and Oliver said, winking at the boy, well, that's something your mom has to decide. Let's ask her. Michelle, would you like us to become a real family? You know, I really want that. I love you and Alex, and I don't want to be separated anymore. To be honest, I've dreamed of that too. Oliver, stay with us forever. The woman said shyly. The boy clapped his hands together and began to shout joyfully, yay! So you're getting married, and Oliver's moving in with us. Michelle laughed, kissed her son, and said, go to bed, you sly boy. Or I won't be able to wake you up tomorrow, but you have to go to school tomorrow. Alex quickly fell asleep. Oliver hugged Michelle, and whispered to her in the kitchen, oh my goodness, Michelle, we were so stupid. I have been in love with you since university, but I didn't dare to confess it to you. You are the best woman for me. Come to me, I've been dreaming about it for so long. Michelle was incredibly happy. They got married and started to live together. And soon, she realized that she was pregnant, which made her even more happy, because she dreamed of having a baby. Alex was happy that he would have a brother or sister and was looking forward to this event. One day, the family decided to visit Michelle's mom and see Veronica, Irvin's mother. They bought lots of gifts and drove to a small town. As they all got together for dinner, they shared news and talked about life. And then Veronica said, Irvin sent me a letter from jail recently. At first, I didn't even believe him. He wrote that his mistress, Zoe, was pregnant and had given birth to a baby girl a week ago, but died in childbirth. He said he was afraid his daughter would end up in an orphanage. He thinks he's being punished for his sins. After all, he wanted to kill Alex, and he killed Lara because of the inheritance, and now his baby will suffer. But he's changed a lot, I can feel it. He said that he is very sick, and realizes that he will probably never get out of jail. He says Lara often comes to him in his dreams. He asked me to take care of his daughter. I feel sorry for my son, I realize that he deserved it, but I'm a mother, and I'm ready to forgive him. I feel very sorry for the girl, and I wanted to adopt her, but social services won't let me because of my age and financial situation. Veronica wiped her tears with her handkerchief, finishing her story. Michelle and Oliver asked about Zoe and promised Veronica that they would find out everything. And they did. They were allowed to see the girl, even though she was very weak. She was lying in a neonatal incubator and looked tiny and helpless. What an unlucky baby. Her mom died, there are no other relatives, and it seems as if the baby feels that a tragedy has happened to her mom. She is very weak, hardly gaining weight. I don't even want to think about what's going to happen to her. You know what kind of treatment is needed for such babies, how much love and care they need to survive, but no one needs her at all, the nurse said, lowering her eyes. Tears flowed down Michelle's cheeks, she looked at this girl and wanted to take her in her arms and hug her tightly. And she didn't care that her father was a jerk, and her mother was probably a dirty woman. It wasn't the girl's fault. Oliver embraced his beloved. He understood her perfectly and said, "Honey, we can't leave this poor little girl in trouble. Let's take her to our private clinic, we can help her there. Otherwise, she won't survive, I can't let that happen. Thank you for understanding me. You're right, that's what we should do. What name should we give her? How about Hope? I think it's a very beautiful name," the woman mumbled. Michelle and Oliver took the girl to their private clinic and constantly monitored her condition. They held her tiny hand that was almost transparent, stroked her little head, and whispered, "Hope, you are not alone now, we are by your side. Everything will be fine, you are safe now." Surprisingly, but feeling the love, the girl began to recover and finally began to gain weight. In 2 months, she was ready to be discharged. During this time, Michelle and Oliver got used to her, and they didn't want to part with her, they considered her their daughter now. The couple decided to adopt little Hope. They were financially secure, had a good income, and all the necessary conditions for the baby. Therefore, there were no problems with the adoption. At first, Alex was a little jealous when the parents brought the baby home. The boy was worried that his dad and mom wouldn't need him anymore. Michelle was also nervous, trying to spend time with both son and daughter. Moreover, she was about to give birth and have another baby in their house. She was afraid she wouldn't cope. But Oliver managed to find the right words and had a serious talk with Alex. "Listen, Alex. This little girl was just born, but she had already lost her mom and dad. She was sick, and no one wanted her. After all, you still remember how painful it was when your mom died. Hope is not a stranger to you, she is your little sister. If me and mom hadn't adopted her, she would have ended up in an orphanage. But remember, mom and I will never love you any less. But our family's gonna become really big. At first, it won't be easy for everyone. But we'll get through it. You and I are real men. And you're also an older brother. We have to take care of mom, help her, and love the younger children. Because we're a real family. I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't know Hope's mom died too. I'm going to take care of her now, and I won't let anyone hurt her. And when mom has a baby, I'll love the new baby too. We'll be fine, Daddy, I promise," Alex replied seriously. They shook hands, and everyone in the family began to treat each other with care and understanding again. Alex hurried home after school to help his mother, looking after his sleeping sister and playing with her. And Oliver, no matter how tired he was at work, he found time for his son every day, realizing that it was especially important for Alex now. They fixed the car together, the man taught his son to hammer nails, and sometimes he could just play with him, because, after all, Alex was still a child. Michelle also hugged Alex every night and praised him, "How strong and smart you are, a real man. I am proud of you. You are the best son in the world." The boy was pleased to hear such words. After these words, he did his best to help Michelle and Oliver even more because he felt that they loved him, that they needed their dear son. Michelle and Oliver had their own family routine. At night, when the children were asleep, they would go to the kitchen and have tea and sweets, talking about everything. The woman smiled, stroking her big belly, "Life is so interesting and unpredictable. I spent my whole childhood thinking I was a fat, ugly girl, and I was unhappy because of it. Then I fell in love with the wrong person, and I was also very upset, thinking that no one needs me anymore. I spent several years doing nothing but my work to distract myself. And all this time, you were by my side, you supported me, but I didn't notice anything. All the changes in my life started when I met Alex. I don't regret what happened. I just wonder why I used to believe that job was the main part of my life. Now I realize that I was wrong. Now, the most important thing for me is to have you by my side. You and our children. Only now I am really happy. Thank you for everything, my love. They hugged each other tightly, sensing each other's calmness and warmth.